Hello, and thank you for watching. Today I'm working on metal building elevations, even though it's kind of built like a traditional house, where they'll be using studs and sheetrock. Normal things that you would do, they're going to be putting in 4x4 columns throughout this to do metal building style, using the exterior metal panel and metal roof systems. But I wanted to talk a little bit about roof slopes, how I approach those, and some mistakes that you can hopefully stay away from. I can already see some here, but we'll talk about this in a minute. Typically, I draw a triangle for my roof slopes. I draw the rise. I'm going to change this to an 8 and 12. That's not what they want, but just for showing you guys, I'm going to go up 8 over 12 and then C for closed. And I used a polyline. That way everything is all connected. My short key command is PL. So if I wanted to, though, what happens sometimes is I'll scale this triangle up in a drawing when I'm already done, so that if it's like, for instance, I have some really small 2 and 12 or 1 and 12 pitches, and that way the triangle on this space looks a little bit larger and it still matches the slope. In this case, for some reason, the rise was correct, but the run was not. It was actually stretched out another 3 inches, which caused a lot of these roof angles to be incorrect. So went back in. Also, if you're copying one, you can either check it by just throwing a quick dimension. I use RD for regular dimension. They also call it dim linear, but I just like short keys because it makes things a lot faster. So I do know now that this is a true 5 and 12 pitch. So I'm going to copy that. I use XREF, so sometimes you want to make sure you adjust that XClip, and AutoCAD loves doing that. Sometimes when you use N snaps or O snaps and stuff, AutoCAD will, for some reason, grab some really random far off point, and that's why my whole XREF disappeared. But you can watch one of my other videos for XREFing and why I do this, because it's easy to copy and rotate these. You never mirror a plan if you're going to then draw the back. Also, you don't want to rotate. I've seen this where the drawing was rotated up and they drew their lines down, because what happens is you're drawing that elevation backwards, because that's not how it would genuinely look. Because if I drew all these down, this left side that would be over here is actually the right side. So I'm just going to use the U for what to do, put it back where it's supposed to be. Okay, so I'm going to take this 8 and 12 pitch and I'm going to copy it. Turn my notes on. C for copying is normally circle, but I rarely use circle, so I just again change in the alias edit box. You can look up my other video on that. AL for align command. I'm going to select that and this guy here so that I can now set this roof to the pitch I want. This space is always going to stay the same, so I'll right click to activate the command. I'm going to select this point because that's where I want it to start aligning from, and then I will re-click this point again because this corner of the roof will stay the same. Then I come all the way up to the top of my roof at the outermost point, and then I align it to this and then hit enter twice, and it automatically aligns my roof to a new 8 and 12 pitch. Now this one has a low sloping 2 and 12 pitch that it ties into, so it'd be kind of hard to do that over here because I don't have this outside edge face. But what I can do, because this house is symmetrical on this side, I can take a line, which is the face of this wall, and pull it back to the base of that wall, which is right here. I can use the mirror command, MI for mirror short. Find the midpoint of my line, click up to set it, and then no, because I don't want to erase the original. I'm going to use my fillet command or fillet. Everybody says that differently. So, and then just do that to each of these guys. I now have my new slope, so then I would come back and trim all this out. You can see how this intersects way further over, so I would then have to just do this because that's how this slope is going to work. Now the one thing that it does do is it creates this off looking piece, and if my roof is genuinely the same, then I would need to adjust this because that's where it's going to hit because of this roof pitch. And so then I would just use my trim command to trim out the rake trim, extend on this one. And then with the trim command, there's also an aspect of it that's called the fence setting. So if I select this, I can then right click to activate the command, type in F, and what I can do is come in here with a line, come all the way across, and it will trim every single piece exactly where I need it to be. And I just use the fillet command, fillet, and then I would just trim all this out. Again, I could have also used the fillet command, or excuse me, the F for fence. Do trim, right click to activate the command, come all the way down, and then that fixes that. But this is not going to be the case, so I'll just undo this real quick, put it back where I had it. So one thing about AutoCAD, I wish they would add the redo infinite command, because sometimes you go way too far back, like 4 or 5 steps past what you wanted to, and then you end up finding having to redo some stuff. So I don't recommend doing the undo too fast. Okay, so one thing that I noticed is that the distances between my metal panel was 11 inches from here to here and 1 foot from here to here. Typically when you're doing, if it's a 1 foot, space on the metal panel for the ridges that pop out, what I'll do is I'll come in and just erase these because they have been put in there incorrectly. And I'll show you how that can happen. A lot of times that happens when you're copying from one point to another. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start at the top up here. This is 1 inch wide, so I'm going to move it a 1/2 inch so that it's centered. So it looks like. Not sure how that happened. Okay. Draw a line over, hit this for the center. I can see that because I hadn't finished fully filleting those, it was not in the right spot. So I'm going to hit that. So actually I'll leave that on there for a second. So typically these guys are 1 foot on center. So I'm going to offset 1 foot each direction. I can then copy this and move it from this point. Oops. Copy it from this. Sometimes AutoCAD will pick the wrong spot. Copy from midpoint to midpoint. That way I know that they're exactly the same. So that way these continue all the way down, and it looks good because I don't like it to hit dead center. I prefer to have it actually hit off. So what I'll do is I'll move this 6 inches, and that way it puts it dead center. So what happens a lot of times is when you're copying this, you want to copy it from one side. So I clicked from the left side, and I always want to go to the face of the next side. So that side. What can happen is if you're too far out and you're not really paying attention, you can't tell what you're clicking to. That's why I typically zoom in, because I want to make sure I'm always hitting the left side of this. And when you have other lines, it can kind of get confusing and messed up. Once I get a few done, I can come back and do copy again, and that way I'm doing the same thing, just even further over. So I've got that direction. So now I can copy this again. I copied from the left side this time, but if I'm going this way, I would copy from the right side face point to make sure that all of my guys stay the same distance. Click this point and to this point. All right, so obviously I don't need all these. Don't need this one because there's a 4-inch edge trim that's parked right there. Go ahead and make this because it's not. So now I've got a whole lot of lines that need trimming. This is where that fence command comes in really handy because, like, for instance, this is a roof, so I don't want my metal building wall panels to be showing up. So I can click each of these lines and do trim. Oh. Okay, yeah, that worked. type in F for fence, come through, and you'll notice it's not killing any of the roof. It's just only killing what was in between here. So now I want to make sure that I trim this out. Again, I can select both sides and do right click to activate the command, F for fence, come all the way up, trim on the right side, right click, enter, and there we go, trimmed all those out. But now I want to take all of these. I did not erase that one previous one. There we go. Thought there seemed something was not quite. So I can see here that I'm missing a couple. I don't have this offset 4" for the rake trim. Let's offset that over. So now I can just do trim here. Right click, F for fence, come all the way across. That way my curb and gutter, thinking sidewalks and roads. My curb and eave trim are all now visible. And so the only other thing I have left to do is if one of these columns falls inside the porch column, which is placed right here, but none of them do, all I have is the door that has gotten in the way. There we go. And I need to copy this over. Again, I'm going from the left side to the right, so I copy from the left, copy that over, that one. Apparently at some point I did erase these, not sure how I did that. There we go. All right, and the same here, I'll start it, if I've only got a small area, I'll start it in one spot, copy, move it 1 foot. Then I always want to make sure I go from that same point again. Copy, copy, copy. Now these won't be here because basically this is now my 1 foot. So again, trim command, fence. It also, the fence command works with, because these were all the way, works with the extend command, which I use EX. I can either just cross like that, or I can, especially if I have a bunch of them and it's really close. That's why I like the fence command, because you can get very close. Right click to activate the command, F for fence. AutoCAD has been real funny with me on the fence command. It has not been working as well when I use it to extend, but works great on the trim. Trim this out. Okay, a couple other things. So this cathedral goes all the way through, so we have it drawn on the front, but we also need to put it on this front as well, because it'll be right here. And then also that cathedral is shown here on the left, but it's not shown on the right. I only need to draw it the one time. I can now draw, and this is why I do all of my elevations at the same height all the way across left to right. I can draw a line from the peak to the peak. Select this. Make sure you don't select things you don't want. And then I can mirror this point. I can go down or up. I have my ortho on. You always want to make sure you have ortho on, because if you're not exactly right, you can mirror that thing all kinds of crazy ways. So pull down. It's going to then ask you mirror erase source. I want to keep that, so I just type in space. And it keeps it, and now I have this side done for that. So same thing, even though these are way over here, I can just come in and draw a line from here all the way over to this edge of this roof, and then come in and select, type in MI for mirror, find my midpoint, no. Now you'll notice when I did that, it put this down into my eave trim for some reason. That's because this one has the porch sloping up like we showed here, and it kind of gets in the way. So what we have to do is then come in here where this face of the back of the house meets this roof edge. I'm just going to draw a line all the way across, and that lets me know that I need to stretch this guy up to that line, the green line. So this is actually where that would sit. Now, of course, I have my roof running all through there. Again, I can use my trim command, select my cutting boundary area, basically the roof, and then this line here. I can use the fence command again for trim, so I've selected that. I'm going to right click to activate it, type in F for fence. And that's the nice thing I like about fence is I can go up and then I can come down, right click enter, and it does it perfectly. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed the video.